My buddy Yogi.
You can talk. You can talk.
Buddy Yogi.
Okay.
From 1960. Would ever get you through?
I didn't. I was 27 years old.
But golly, your parents would be proud today. And so would Billy. I wish he was around and coming down, but
He's still helping.
I'm going to talk about all the Bills in our family. Sure.
40 cats out there.
But Bob's were important too, as are Robert's.
Robert.
You didn't think I knew your first name.
No, most people don't.
Well, when you're close, when you grew up in Cheyenne, you know
guy, Ron.
Yogi Allen.
They're always.
So today we go to the Fred Gish celebration of my life. So people they organize in the near the creek here, the canyon. So beautiful here. Look like the picnic. Wow, so many food here.
He said, we wouldn't be able to leave tomorrow.
Hello, Richard Gish.
Hello.
I'm Yogi wife.
Where is Yogi?
He talked to your brother right here. We heard about you many times, but I never see you.
If it's all lies or if they're really true.
Very good. Especially when we talk about that you have an accident with the Don Shear.
Oh yeah.
And we visit Don Shear many times in Arlington Cemetery in Washington D.C. And that's why every time we come there and we remember about you because you in the same car and now and thanks God you survive and we're happy about that.
Well, I'm appreciative that you and Yogi came down.
Yes.
I mean, it's from doing 60 miles. It's a tribute to my brother.
Yes, because Yogi now very difficult to drive, so I'm drive from Denver come here and we organize very early. So I'm glad we're here. Yogi, come in here. That's your buddy.
Hello, so.
Right, she's with her husband.
Come on here.
Oh yeah, this is Crystal.
Something's wrong.
Crystal.
Great school, right here.
Right
Good to
there.
see you, buddy.
Yeah. How many times you beat me in basketball in 4th and 5th grade? I never did.
We had Alan Russell and Billy Davis.
No, hell, that's a lie.
Yeah.
Okay, Fred Gish. Today we come here to honor celebration life of you. Okay, and people maybe you know you like the picnic or the hiking, so your family organize here in near the canyon. So beautiful here and very nice weather. Oh, he like to play basketball. Very handsome man here, and so many shoes on here. See, Grand Canyon. No, sorry, Canyon. Yeah, they say Fred. Fresh. And on his something. On his picture, head. That's him. Robert Fred Gish. May 1941 to March 2026. And many pictures here. So beautiful. And you see that near to the canyon, so he can come back to the nature. That's beautiful. And people bring the chair.
We started guard maybe in the 9th grade. Started from
Two buddy from 1960 what, Yogi?
well, we got out of he got me out of high school finally in '64.
Okay, 64.
He was on my back, and I just carried him
Right,
through
yeah, right. Had a
senior
few
year.
beers.
So, Ron, right? Are you the Ron? Oh, no, sorry, Richard Gish.
Growing up.
So where you live now, sir?
I live in Denver, Colorado.
Oh, now?
Yeah.
We're not far then.
Also, why we don't meet each other? We live in Denver too.
Yeah, I know you do, and
We're on Blake Street, right?
you're
5 or 6
I
blocks.
know where it is.
Adopted daughter, however you know me, pain in the butt, who was my nickname. I know we all have one. Anyway, welcome everyone. We're so happy that we're all here. I'm going to refer to him as Grandpa because that's pretty much what I called him, or Papa, when I was little. We're just so happy everyone could be here. I mean, he touched so many lives. All of us had a really special connection with him, and I think that's why all of you wanted to be here today to celebrate with us. We wanted to keep this really casual, just so everyone could feel comfortable, feel like you could come up here, you know, speak your piece, tell a story, you know, whatever you have in your heart that you want to share or not share, that's okay too. Just to be here with us, you know, I know Grandma and Grandpa are watching over us, and they're just proud to see all of us here together. One big thing is that Grandpa wanted everyone to be able to just remember him the way you wanted to remember him. And everyone has, you know, their adventures and their past with him. I have a tree actually that kind of represents the way I see him. And it's in the back there, so if everyone before you leave could go ahead and write their name on one of those branches, it really just represents how he touched all of our lives, and he's kind of the roots of all of us. Everyone here was touched in a different way, and so if you could represent that on the tree, I would really love that. So we're going to go ahead and get started, and we're going to go ahead and start with the people who have known Grandpa the longest. They have a very special public service announcement. So I have Ronald and Riley.
Thank you, Krista. I hope you guys can hear me. There's a lot to say about this guy, but I'll try to keep it as brief as possible, though that's nearly impossible. Younger brother. We'll figure out how this works. But I'm going to talk a little bit first about the blood brotherhood, the three brothers. We were able, through our entire life, to stay together. Fred was always the leader. I didn't know him very well. I knew his younger sister better than I knew him because he was never home. At a little young age, he was out. So I remember my sister and I remember my baby brother. And then I remember my older brother when we left Briggsdale, Colorado, about 50 miles to the east of here. If you get on Colorado 14, drive all the way to Briggsdale. That's where we started our life. Fred was always a traveler, always had a lot of interest. Before I was born, he had already moved to Kansas for a short period of time. But he came back to Briggsdale for my sister Karen. Some of you may have known her, but she passed her sophomore year in high school. And at that time we didn't know it, but he was a lover. You'll find out about that. He had the love of his life in his life already. And it was soon after that that they had a child and named her after our sister. Karen is not here, the oldest daughter, his oldest child, but her daughter is here. And Amanda? No, not Amanda, Abigail? There's a bunch of A's in the family. There's the biggest A right there. Your mom's not here, but I know she's always has something to say. Tell us what she has to say.
My voice does not carry very well at all. Can you guys hear me? No. No? Okay. I'm probably going to kind of have to scream. Is that a little bit better? Okay. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Abigail. I'm Karen's daughter and Bob's second granddaughter after Amanda. My mom could not be here today because she had major surgery, back surgery last week. And it could not be postponed. As I am typing this up for her 2 days post-surgery, she is in tears. Not because of the pain or necessarily because of Grandpa's passing, which of course she is grieving, but because of all the family and friends here today that she wanted to see and hug. She started naming people, and when I was typing out the names, she said, "No, don't put names, it's everyone." So Karen sends her love, and here's what she wanted to say. Whether you addressed him as Rasbastus Cornelius Freeman, Bob, Robert, Grandpa, Gramps, Papa, Papa Gish, Fred, Uncle Fred, Freddie Bob, RG1, or Hun, as Mom did at times, he will always be Dad to me. Quick funny story about this. When Andy and I first dated, we went to Cheyenne and Andy golfed with Rick. When they got back, Andy said that Rick kept talking about Fred. He asked me, "Who the hell is Fred?" as he only knew Dad as Bob in those early days. I definitely wasn't ready for Dad to go be with Mom yet. I guess it was the suddenness in which he left. He did it his way, as he did everything his way, and there's no doubt that Mom was there to greet him. I have so many fond memories of Dad that will bring a smile to my face when I think about him. But our last conversation is a perfect example of his ever-present sense of humor. I sent him what I thought was a 500-piece John Wayne puzzle because he loved old westerns. He called me to tell me that he received the 1,000-piece, all-yellow duck puzzle. I fall for it because, per usual, he is so convincing, and I tell him I will reorder the correct puzzle, to which he responds, "No, it's okay. I like the duck puzzle. It'll be a challenge, but I think I can finish it." That was our last conversation, as he passed shortly after. In the following days, as my siblings were sorting through Dad's apartment, I was asked if there was a piece John Wayne puzzle. I often think back about Mom and Dad's age when I was born. They were just kids. Here they were, looking down at the most gorgeous baby girl, probably so excited but scared too. With love, determination, and hard work, they managed to raise 5 children. It wasn't easy, and I'm sure they would have changed a few things, but I truly believe they did the best they could. Dad was a complicated man, but very simple in so many ways. He had a unique relationship with each of his children, and no doubt all of us are feeling his loss deeply right now. I don't think Dad realized how much he was loved by everyone and how each person that is here today could tell a story about how he impacted their life. In closing, I challenge each of you to be a little more like Dad. Have a sense of humor, help those in need, and live your life with kindness, generosity, and a touch of stubbornness.
Good job.
Hi.
Someone with that contract.
Which one? That you're my real father?
Well, cast has been a little different.
Okay. So this beautiful summer day in 1964 that I was born, my father was fishing with the rest of the kids. And my mother went into labor that night. Ron was sleeping on the couch. She woke him and said, "Ron, it's time." And you said,
Time for what?
so a young single kid, on the couch. And so he took my mother to the hospital for my birth dates on how I was doing because he was the father.
I was fishing with him, wasn't I?
Yeah, you a lot of people in this was fishing. And so they thought that Ron was my father, and I'm so good with that. He's been my second father my whole life. I cherish and adore him. And I got 2. But there were some complications with my mother, and the emergency room at the Cheyenne hospital was packed because it was a Saturday night of Frontier Days. And there were a lot of crazy things going on in the ER. So when she had complications, her heart stopped. They took me out, bundled, freshly born, to my father. And he held me. He was the first one to love me and bring me into the world. And so we have a very special bond. And I'm grateful to have you. So last I'm not. What part? Okay. So anyhow, there are a lot of stories from Dick and Ron, so I don't want to take up too much time, but that's why he is my second father. But I just want to say thank you for being here. The amount of love, the cards, I cannot express to you, and all of the losses of my lifetime. This one hit so hard, I could barely exhale. Today I feel like this is the beginning of healing. We're all here. I cannot believe the love that my father had from all of you, and I'm grateful you're here. I see these beautiful eyes and expressions. I held such a deep reverence for my father. My love for him was the first time I felt true reverence for another human being, and I was very young, and it was profound. And to close, I had the police chief of Aspen and DeSalt, Colorado, came into my office recently, and he cried. This is the police chief. It's just someone he worked with, but he affected everyone. He had this impact on all lives. And he went to walk out of my office, and then he spun around and he looked at me and he said, I cannot even imagine what it was like to have been the daughter of Bob Gish. And we saw it. So, I just want to say thank you to him for the crazy life, the horseback rides, everything we did, the love that he and my mom shared showed me how to marry one man and stay married for the rest of your life, through thick and thin, through hard times and love. I have so much gratitude for that. But I just really want to say thank you all for being a part of that love for my father. He was a giant for all of us. Okay, this is my father, Ron Gish.
That's why I'm known as RG2. Growing up, it was really special. I spent my first 5 years in Colorado, in Wall County. We lived in Bricksdale when I was first born. Get up on the road, turn right, drive all the way to Bricksdale. That's why this place is special, because of the river that comes through Greeley, Colorado, and the water rights of the United States of America that started in Alabama, Colorado, came from this area. We lived on a ranch, our grandfather's ranch, called the Old Campfield place. Campfield was a prominent Greeley businessman, rancher, water rights expert, and somehow things passed down. Granddad was a homesteader, a dryland farmer, who did very well in the drylands. He became the manager of an elevator that brought the railroad to Bricksdale, Colorado. He provided support to start the first church in Bricksdale. Our first house in Bricksdale was right next to the church, and I remember it because that's where Fred first failed at driving a car at a very young age. He backed out of the driveway and hit the church. But that was my brother. I didn't know him back then. We moved to the big house in Bricksdale. That's where I remember my sister. That's where I remember my little brother. And after I had learned that something important happened to us in Bricksdale, my dad's restaurant worked to the ground. I remember Fred from that day on. From there we moved to Meade, Colorado, which is not far away. From Meade, Colorado, we finally moved across the border to Cheyenne, Wyoming. Spent our first 5 years in government housing, because back then, as it is today, housing is short and hard to find. But we finally found our home in Cheyenne. back then, we were known as different things to different people. Fred had a nickname for everybody. This one is Stevie Ears. That's a Stevie Ears right there. His nickname for me was Aggie. I don't know why, but he decided he could give names that he decided were appropriate to anybody. But we're here today to solve the mystery for so many people. And I need more help. Amanda's child, Billy Lee, would you please come up and help me?
Oh, no.
What do you know about nicknames? Oh, look at what your shirt says. You want me to read that?
Yeah, I can't really read that.
You've already heard this, but he decided he would give himself a lot of pats on the back. He had a lot of aspirations to be the number one. So he decided he's going to start writing. He's going to write stuff. And you need a pen name, give yourself a nickname. His nickname was Rasbastus Cornelius Freeman Jr. II. Nobody would figure out that that's Fred, or some people thought was Bob. And he just said, lover. There was one person in his life, Mary and Fred, were going together. I was hoping another Bill would show up. Bill Miller from Cheyenne played high school basketball with him. Introduced Fred and Mary in high school. Athlete, we'll give him that. Scholar. Champion of justice.
Yes.
He had a big heart.
Oh, yeah.
He had a big heart. And he was disappointed in the cultural development of the water. Distinguished author and historian. Yeah, he was doing pretty good in that. But for the first 25 years of his life, he was Fred. He was the first child of our generation, the fourth generation on the Johnson side, the maternal side, fourth generation first son. And he was the ninth generation on the Gish side, firstborn son in our family line. So he got to carry the names of both of his granddads. Robert from Kansas, Frederick, Colorado. But because he was the first-born son in the family, he was the closest to granddad than any of them. He was special. And so he grew up being a Freddie and a Fred through high school and into college. We are honored to have a couple ball players from Wyoming, at the University of Wyoming. I'm not sure what he was calling himself then. Al, do you remember, or Kurt, do you remember what did you call him? Freddie?
I called him Freddie.
Yeah, he was still a Freddie in college. But I put some of these picture collages together on kind of the, also the historian, the archivist for the family. So I end up with a lot of things that will be passed down. But I want to share some things from the brotherhood. Being the brother of Freddie Bob, you know, that's what I finally elected to call him. Mary was telling me this long story. We hadn't seen each other for a couple of years. We came back. Mary was telling me this great story about this. Just to give him that later in life. We brought some picture collages of younger age when we were small, growing up, put together by the family. There's some family pictures here. We were fortunate enough as a close bonded band of brothers. Our away jerseys for traveling together was our RG3 uniform. We went back to the days of the Gishes of Virginia, back to the Gishes of Pennsylvania. And there's a lot going on in that family lineage, both culturally, along with the development of the United States, as well as politically, in the times. But tomorrow I'm going to be here all day tomorrow at Fort Collins for any Gishes or Johnsons that want to hear the details of the family. Here we're here to honor this man with a big heart. And he had it. We grew up before there was organized athletics in Cheyenne. But I can tell you it started happening with me and my younger brother. And we could rely on our older brother to be our coach, our mentor, our critic, and our helper. And for that, we're blessed. As a family, we were all interested in athletics. Our mother was the first basketball player in the family. So whenever we're together and see pictures of us, there were two things that each of us boys thought were pretty special. Who was the best athlete? And who did Mom love the best?
Fred.
I didn't think it was the best athlete. But it was a tight race between my younger brother, the All-American football player in high school, and my older brother, who was stellar at everything. The write-ups that we see of this guy as a football player, a quarterback, from his coach, made him that All-American. Just from his ability on the baseball field. How he decided to be a left-handed hitter and a right-handed thrower, I don't know. That's not what Fred taught. But he made it. He too was a stellar athlete in high school on the basketball court. Not so great in grade school. There's another friend, I don't think he's made it here yet, another Bill that played basketball with him. But there is a really close friend who became the city judge of Cheyenne, Wyoming. Is Yogi still here? There he is. There's Yogi. His team beat his team in grade school. But they stayed together, close together, and there was a lot of sports in the family. So the competition in the family was rampant. Since there were two of us and one Freddy Bob, guess who had the votes? And it was close because Fred could perform in just about anything on an athletic field, a court, a pitch. This guy could do it as well. And because of the stellar performance at the national level, he was determined by the Brotherhood to be the best athlete of us three. Freddy Bob is the best all-around in so many ways. The best all-around athlete. The best all-around just about everything. The other thing was the competition for our mother. There's a reason I brought this picture, and you'll see who Mom is hugging. That would give you an idea of who she loved the best, I think. That's just the way I see it. Now, I'm going to get out of here, out of your way, but I want to tell you why this place is so special. Of course, the family that was here during COVID was able to see Mary pass right here on this spot.
Wow.
Where her ashes joined us to Greeley, Colorado, followed the creek down to Greeley, where our grandparents met. You already know the road to Brickdale. That'll take you to Greeley. But right over these hills, over in the area of La Porte in Belgium is where our maternal grandmother was born in 1884. It was at a time when this was about as far as civilization went. A big overland trail at Fort Collins and headed up towards the Laramie before the railroads came through Cheyenne. Then that became another route. My grandmother was born here without papers. I'm not sure if she could survive today without her papers. But she was born there, ended up moving back to Greeley, where she met my grandfather. And so Greeley has a very special place in our heart. But if you put a stake here, 50 miles in any direction is where we spent so many years. Grandpa Johnson's older sister, Aunt Mary, very prominent over the hills. There's a cousin from that line right there, Cousin Joyce. She brought the Johnson family from Iowa to Colorado. She was the first, and her dad and her brother, my grandpa, came later to claim their patent on land that the government was giving. If you can live out on the dry land on 180 acres, it's yours. But you got to make an improvement, and then it's yours. He thought he could do that, and he did. He moved a couple times and improved himself every time, to the point where he bought the local ranch, which is a famous historical site. But that's why this place is so special to us. It has deep roots from the family. Ronnie, do you have anything you want to say? And don't lie about me.
Memorial event that focuses on joyful remembrance. So basically, how should I remember my bad year? They never let me go
That's
first.
right, he doesn't go first.
So I'm going to start anyway with how I feel about my brother. I believe Freddie Bob has done many things, and we've touched on a little bit of it. But he was a author. He wrote a book. Freddie Bob was also an inventor. He invented all those names, my God. How many times did you answer the phone and say, "This is Rasmus Freeman Cornelius III. What are you doing?"
That's Junior the second.
That's not all he invented. When we were younger, I was probably 4th, 5th, 6th grade, maybe 7th. Montgomery Ward would have an advertisement basically about like a little smaller than a newspaper. And in Cheyenne,
Called a pamphlet.
in Cheyenne, we had to deliver between 20 and 40,000 of these newspapers. Well, we only did half of them. Somebody else did the other half. So what would happen, they'd send it over to our house on 209 East 4th Avenue. We put all these things in these bundles of papers in our garage. We'd go out and buy the rubber bands. We'd buy some boxes. And we start wrapping them, putting them in the boxes. We'd wrap, maybe 2 days, 3 days, until we were all done. My brother invented the best way to deliver them. We'd always walk down the street, we'd have the newspaper bags here and just throw them up there. Not with him. Put all the boxes in the back seat of the Corvair, the green Corvair truck that we had. And somebody sit on the right-hand side. And so we did that. He started up the old Corvair truck, and start driving down the street. We'd be in the back, we'd take them out, we'd touch them as best we could. It would only take us, maybe a half a day to deliver all of our 20,000 advertising. But he would also go to where the apartment buildings were and take a whole bunch of them and just throw them down outside where the mailboxes were. And we were done quick. So he did that. He was in the Fred was a business owner. He owned a precast company. Talked Brother Ron into coming in and working with him. I'm the youngest one. He called me, or Fred called me, one of the two, come out and work for us. Well, I just did my master's degree when I was working in Michigan. I worked with Alchemy, but they paid for my master's degree. I said, yeah, I'm not coming out.
That's why he's number 3.
And he was also an engineer. He built things. He constructed things. But he was more than not an individual, an ordinary man who did good things for people that we don't even know and probably never hear their name. But he was that type of gentleman. So that's how I feel about the celebration of life of Robert Fred Gish. Those are the normal things. He was much more than normal. Jim Balvano was accepting an award at the ESPY Awards, and he said, every single day, in every walk of life, ordinary people do extraordinary things. My brother was extraordinary. February 14th, 1962.
I remember it well. We were in high school and we had the state championship out there.
He did an extraordinary event that day. He grabbed 22 rebounds in a 40-minute game. And if you do the mathematics, it comes out just below 9.9 rebounds a game. Well, what's so extraordinary about that? When you play a basketball game in college, everybody wants to get rebounds. But when he did it, there were 10 or 9 other people on the court who wanted to get the rebound. I played basketball. Hell, I couldn't rebound. I'm not going to get into those big guys. Brother Fred fought, and he held the record. You know how long he held the record?
So recent.
Roughly 30 years. That record was the University of Wyoming for 30 years before we played. That's how extraordinary it was. That's how he set the standard. The University of Wyoming rebound.
I can follow up a little bit on that, and I will.
Make sure I got all the notes I was trying to talk about. But he was extraordinary. One of the things that I really want to talk about my brother Fred, when Brother Ron talked about this old junior high, high school, into college. Once I got out of college, there's a big spot that wasn't there. It wasn't being fulfilled. That's where Brother Fred was company. When I got over, and this happened in, I believe it was late 2022, when all three of us took a trip. We went up to Pennsylvania, saw our roots that came over from Europe. His mom's favorite. This is amazing. He even thought about it. And he says he wasn't in on it. Yeah, Brother Fred, one of the last times I saw him, he finally came clean. He said, not only are you the best athlete in the family, but Mother did. You were her favorite. There's no question.
As a scientist, I would say, what proof do you have of
He
that?
put $20 in my pocket. And he says, I want you to take this $20. I want you to go out and put these words on a t-shirt. So I did that.
I want mom fabulous.
That's not, what else? That's not the only thing that he said.
That's why you can't let him
That's
go on
the only
stage
thing he
after you.
said. So now you can say that I'm Mother's
You had a stage for like that.
Well, I want you to see everything that I can do.
You know, you were probably his favorite because you were a better athlete than him. But I wanted to share some of that story you talked about. I think it was the Utah State game. Kurt, were you in '62? Al was, for
We
sure.
both played in that game.
Yes.
That game, now let me go back a little bit to high school. Fred was recruited really heavily by Utah State, Colorado State, and Wyoming. Why Bill started and got it was beyond me. But I could see the character of my brother. He had something to prove at times. And all of us in athletics have special games. But I did ask him about that game against Bill the Hill McGill. All-American, I think top scorer in the nation that year. Fred had a stellar game. I think he scored 9 of the first 18 points for Wyoming and pulled down 22 rebounds. He was either very lucky or really built up for some reason. I don't see Bill Stranigan as one that would, I don't know, I was never around, but to put guys in that frame of mind that whatever they did, they're going to win, I don't know. But he had something to prove to Utah State, and it was a challenge going up against the All-American. I had to explain to him later that even though Bill the Hill was a great shooter and scored a lot, he was pathetic on the board. He was not a good rebounder either. So he had probably some ability McGill's rebounds as well. There's one final thing I wanted, and I need Billy again. Is Billy Lee around here still?
She's down at the river.
She's playing in the river with Riley.
It's okay. She's not rising.
Amanda, come on. From the Bricksdale days, these are seeds. Flower seeds that I know if anybody can bring them back, they're yours. These came from Mississippi to Colorado to Wyoming, back to Colorado. If you could share some with Lori, I would appreciate it. But these are Grandmother Johnson seeds that you got from her. And so, peonies from England. Where is the connection to England? It's amazing that seeds can come across the Atlantic. But they did. But I want to share that with you. If there's somebody that can handle them properly, it's you and this guy. If you can make them come back to life, we'd enjoy seeing the picture. Okay.
So I was not going to speak again, but in the last week, I've been going through my dad's computer, archiving the book he was writing, seeing if I can complete it, and oh, heck no. There's so much history, and I don't know how I could ever complete his manuscript of what he's doing now, but I'm going to try and get out some chapters to the kids and things. But I also found he was starting to write a book about himself, because my son Drew has been prompting him to write a story about his life because it's been extraordinary. So I printed off a couple of the chapters just 2 nights ago, but one of them is chapter 13, Real and Alias Names. So I thought I'd read a little bit of this because there's a lot of questions about these names. Over the years, and remember this is 100% his writing, okay? Over the years, back as long as I can remember, alias and combination of names have always been part of my assortment of life, character, and personality. Originally, I feel that it probably traces back to my unhappiness with the name Fred in my grade school years. I can't tell you exactly when, but the dislike was always there. I was called Little Fred by my parents. I was born and christened Robert Frederick Gish, named after both of my grandfathers, Fred G. Johnson, Mom's dad, and Robert Gish, Dad's father. I guess they called me Fred, graduating from the University of Wyoming. I played basketball at the university as Fred Gish from Cheyenne. However, my registration was Robert F. Gish at the university. It was Robert to all my professors and UW staff. I used Bob as a short for Robert. My classmates called me Bob while at the engineering department. Stop the wind. Upon graduation, I decided to use my first name, Robert, and individually made the change without consulting anyone. My choice, the name Fred, would be in the past. The name did cause serious problems for my relatives. And people growing up with me in Cheyenne knew me as Fred. All of my classmates, friends, and work acquaintances after graduation knew me as Bob. Depending on where I was and in whose company, I would answer to Fred or Bob. Then I believe my wife Mary started calling me Freddie Bob for no reason, as she felt maybe it was to make it clear to anyone or any crowd or any group that knew me by either name. Made perfect sense to me, or did it? I still did not like either Fred or Freddie Bob. Mary has adapted fairly well over the years, calling me by either name depending on which period of crowd we were in. Of all those things to do when I was president of Concrete West Corporation, I used R. Fred Gish. This was a real loss of identity to me. I also hated that name. It was supposed to be the real buffer between Fred Gish and Robert F. Gish by using the name R. Fred Gish. Everyone would know who I was. It confused everyone, including myself and my wife. Several times over the years, Mary was asked by older acquaintances, "What happened to Fred?" assuming that Bob was her second husband.
I'm kind of glad I'm reading this.
Yeah. That was a real loss of identity for me too. I hated that name. Okay, wait. Sorry. Several times over the years, Mary was asked what happened to Fred, assuming Bob was her second husband. She explained the name change, and all was well. When our daughter Karen brought Andy Holtmeyer to Cheyenne to meet the family before she was married, Andy played a round of golf with one of Mary's brothers. All through the round of golf, he kept referring to Fred all the time. Andy did not know who this Fred guy was as they golfed. Andy thought it was Mary's first husband or something like that. Someone straightened the whole thing out with Andy.
There's not much more.
As part of the story, our firstborn son was named Robert Fred Gish. That made him a junior, which further complicated the whole name thing. I believe that Mary made that name decision. She did not know the complications it would definitely cause. I never used or thought about adding senior behind my name until our son Robert got into the U.S. Army. Then we started getting telephones for our son Robert, and credit reports merged into one in the same file. The credit thing was a real mess, and the 3 credit reporting services eventually straightened it out. I can see how it happened as we both have the same name. I was very happy that Robert named his own son Nathan, not Robert Frederick. Third.
Did you know that? Yeah, he was very happy about that. I didn't know it until last night. Okay, almost done.
Some of the names I called myself were Mickey Mantle, Al Kinner, Ted Williams, or Hank Aaron, while playing home run derby. Sandy Koufax was pitching. There were also times that I played basketball as Julius Erving and Michael Jordan while announcing. If this shot as the second of the game was made, we would be world champions. The name of the game was a fantasy, and those were my sports idols. My whole life has been named confusion from my early college days. I would use the name that best fit the occasion, I suppose. Once we were living in student housing at the University of Wyoming, I used the name while answering an ad for a free gift. I used the fake name and our real address on the correspondence, thinking of only the free gift. Who would have thought that a live salesman would show up to the front door of our house? Needless to say, at some later time, the salesman knocked at the door asking for R.C. Freeman. Mary was quick to realize that it was a salesman.
Sorry, this is hard to read while it's...
Salesman at the door. She was over and the salesman would be leaving. But just at that moment, our daughter Karen spoke up and said, "No, Mommy, that's what Daddy calls himself sometimes." I about died and saw Mary's face in total shock. Somehow the salesman must have figured out that something was not quite right and left. We did not get the free gift. Mary gave me a lecture that it was not right to do that to a salesman. He was just trying to make a living. I listened to what Mary said, continued for the next 60 years to use alias names, ask my kids, and ask the salesman. While living in, let's see, I'm going to skip down to the last paragraph. My most often used alias names were Rufus Brubaker and R.C. Freeman. R.C. Freeman is short for Rastus Cornelius Freeman Jr. II. His name is followed by the acronym LASC of J. This name, lover, athlete, scholar, I can't even. I also frequently use the name Emile Bade. The most common aliases were used were Rufus and Rastus. They were both worked well, and still used today. I guess I never really knew who I was, but I always knew that I belonged where I was. Sorry, I read that really fast. I was taking this on.
I just wanted to talk about some of the thoughts that I have when I think of, being raised by grandma and grandpa. Sometimes I think of who I would be today if I wasn't adopted by them. If they didn't choose to take this little bossy girl and let me just run their lives. They had already parented, they had already done their best and struggled in life, and then they opened their hearts to me. So, I often reflect on where I would be, who I would be, would I be with my family right here today? Would I have my beautiful family I created with my husband and my 2 children? And I'm just so thankful that these 2 incredible human beings decided to be my parents. They chose me, and that's always made me feel like I won the lottery in life in general. Grandpa taught me all the things growing up that he loved. I was a papa's girl, so I followed him around. If he was raking the leaves, I was raking the leaves. If he was shoveling the snow, I was doing it too. So obviously he taught me his loves like basketball, painting, and he was pretty hard on me growing up, you know, because I think he wanted the best for me. And little things like, I remember he made me stay up all night one night to learn how to write an envelope. He thought it was so practical and important that I learned how to put the stamp in the right spot and write an envelope. He taught me to do my taxes in the same way. It wasn't until recently I found out you don't actually have to do your taxes by hand. I've been doing them the whole time, writing them out the way Papa taught me. I started doing my husband's taxes and he said, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm doing my taxes." He said, "You know, there's like things you can use online." I had no idea. So that was eye-opening. The other thing about Papa is I did know how proud he was of me. Until recently, until Grandma got sick, I had actually only seen him cry twice. He became very emotional. I think, you know, going through that with her definitely changed something in him. But growing up, I did not see him cry. I saw him cry for the first time when Grandma Dot passed. And the second time was when I got All-American. He was so proud of that. I'm looking at him, tears streaming down his face, and I'm just like, you know, just in utter shock. So that was a moment for him, apparently. And then I realized I'm kind of the same way. When I found out Papa passed, I was in front of my two children, and I realized that was the first time they saw me cry. Not because I hide my tears or anything, but, you know, I just not her. And it made me think about how impactful Papa's personality has been on me and the way I make decisions. Everything I do in my life, he has a little part of. Growing up, when I was trying to make a big decision, or I was dealing with heartbreak, for example, I'm sitting there, you know, my boyfriend just broke up with me, I'm devastated, and I'm thinking about what I should do next. So I go to Papa, with tears in my eyes, you know, what should I do? And he would say, let's sit down and make a pro-con list. So pretty much my boyfriends, everything I did in life, you know, it was a pro-con list, and that's how I made my decisions. So when I met my husband, I don't think he knew where some of this analytical thinking, pro-con list, telling him I don't think that's practical type of personality came from until he met Papa. And I remember the first time he met him, you know, he'd come out to visit, so it was a long time we spent together. And after he left, he was like, "Oh my God, it all makes sense now." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Your dad is the most stubborn person I've ever met, and you're the second most stubborn person." So it's all coming together, which is why probably they butt heads, but also got along really well. So the last thing I wanted to say is, you know, when I got married, most of us, we take our spouse's name, and I talked to Josh and I said, you know, one thing, it's a lot of paperwork to change your name, and two, I'm so proud of being a Gish. And Grandma and Grandpa were just so proud. I think they were proud of me because they felt in some way it was them that got me there too. You know, they had made mistakes parenting as basically children themselves, and then, you know, when I got to where I was, it was so important to see, you know, Dr. Gish, which that title is not important to me, but it was so important to Grandpa, and it meant so much to him and Grandma. Of course, Josh was like, you know, I don't care, do whatever you want with your name. So, you know, that's just something, one of the most proud things I have is being a Gish. I love that I can carry that with me. It's funny because I recently saw a research page that said it's actually the daughters that carry the name forward based on their mitochondrial DNA. So we always think, you know, the son passes on the name, but in reality, daughters, we're actually the ones that bring the DNA forward scientifically. So cheers to the daughters. Now, if anyone, I wanted to invite up any of
The book titles in Dad's book. He has a bunch of book titles, but they're not all published.
Share like just two things about him. So my husband Ryan is right back there, and we played in a golf tournament together, and Grandpa followed us around in his own golf cart and took pictures of us the whole 18 holes. He just like hung back a little bit, and then shortly after we got like hundreds of pictures of us playing golf in the mail from our tournament, and it was just, that was Grandpa. I mean, he loved taking pictures. He loved to watch other people doing what they loved and to document it. Another time he did that was at Ryan's bachelor party. He followed the entire bachelor party around playing golf, and then got playing cards made with all the pictures from the bachelor party, and sent us a bunch of decks of cards with these photos on them. So that's just a random thing that I remember about Grandpa, loving to take photos of people and to share them. The second thing is that for a while he was living in Glenwood Springs with my grandma, and Doc Holliday, if anyone knows about Doc Holliday, was a dentist, and I'm a dentist, and so is Ryan. So when he was living in Glenwood Springs, he would send me all of this stuff about Doc Holliday, and he would send it to my dental practice with like just silly stamps and just the most random stuff. Sometimes there wasn't even anything in the envelope. He would just cut and paste the comic on the outside of the envelope, and there was just nothing inside. So I have a whole box full of that stuff, and I will cherish it forever. He was just so funny and so unique. So yeah, that's just two small things that I remember about Grandpa.
Trying to come up with my dad's shoes. They're brand new, size 12. I could literally fit my foot in his shoe with my shoes on. I could never feel my father's footsteps, and he always knew it. He always let me be who I wanted to be. But there was no better father than my father, and I'll leave it at that.
Like father, like daughter, I'm going to keep it short because I'm going to cry.
What I got to do one. Apparently I'm a junior. No, I don't believe so. Because that old hospital in Cheyenne with all those Catholic nuns that brought me into this world said, "Oh, that's Fred's son. He's a junior." So my birth certificate just says Fred. So I'm really not a junior.
I don't know if this thing's even on. You guys
Yeah, that's good.
One of the things I will always think about when it comes to my grandpa is his impeccable memory. He remembers every face and stories, names, and it just blows me away. And I think the reason why he remembers all of these names and all these faces is because my grandpa is the person who truly lived in the moment. You would just see him no matter where he was just truly in the moment. And I wish he had a thought bubble, because when he wasn't speaking, I was just wanting to know what was going on in his head, and then he'd speak, and it was the weirdest thing I've ever heard. But truly, like, the lesson that I can learn from my grandpa is be in the moment, be present with your loved ones. Because I want to be like my grandpa and just remember my lifetime and the people who have impacted me. And clearly, my grandpa impacted so many lives, so many lives.
Someone else alluded to the fact that there were times where that was my father. Always did it and always did that for anybody that needed help. Linda, would you like to say something?
Yes. Hi, everyone. I have to share that Kurt was from a family of 10 kids, and when there were 5 left, we said we have to start having at least every other year bro and sisters reunion. And we held them in Las Vegas. Kurt and I would rent a suite at the Mirage and get rooms for Kurt's siblings. And we had just gotten in touch with, we had met Mary at a Wyoming sports reunion, maybe the 100th anniversary or the 75th anniversary. We were involved for a long time. And we said we're having a family reunion in Las Vegas in May, and we really would like you and Mary to join us. So we met them in Las Vegas and spent a couple of days before the reunion began and spent wonderful times. We are also politically simpatico with one another, Mary especially. So Kurt and I had gone to the Mirage to get things set up, and Mary and Bob arrived. They got in an elevator in the lobby, and Kurt's sister and brother got on as well. And they struck up a conversation, and they said, well, what are you doing in Las Vegas? And Bob and Mary said, we're going to our family reunion. And Linda and Herman said, well, we're going to a family reunion as well. So they chatted the whole way up to whatever floor we were on. And they both got off the elevator on the floor, and they both arrived at the door. And they looked at one another. Well, I guess we're part of the same family. So, and Bob took pictures, photos of the whole event. They fit right in. We have lots of photos. I wish I had thought to bring them and share them with you. But again, at Kurt's induction, Bob was there, and he blessed us so much by his presence, by his love. He brought the whole family and took photos. And before we left to come back home, he met us at the hotel, and he had put all of the photos on a little disc and wanted to sit down and show us everything that he had prepared with so much love. We will never forget that. And as I said, Bob and Mary both blessed us in so many ways. And they're a part of the family. They're the bros and sisters with us. So it's good to be here. And
Wyoming, along with Kurt Jimerson. And it was such a privilege. He became a wonderful friend. And he was a marvelous basketball player. You've heard mentioned today of his 22 rebounds against the University of Utah. I played in that game. What wasn't mentioned is he played that whole game on an injured knee. And he could barely move that knee. And yet he grabbed 22 rebounds in that game. And that remained a Wyoming record for years upon end, I think it was said. We had sort of a miracle with our 1962 team. We hadn't seen each other for years. And about 10 years ago, University of Wyoming had a basketball reunion for all the players to get together. And we started to get together, and now 3 or 4 times, and by telephone and everything. Most of our team, and with Fred, I had many chances to talk with him, particularly when Mary was so sick. And we have bonded together. It's rather miraculous that we could get together after all these years and be back together and be here with Kurt and everything. But I'll be very short. I wanted to tell you a funny story. At least Fred and I thought it was funny. Our sophomore year, we were involved in a tournament, Christmas holiday tournament called the Dixie Classic. It was in Raleigh, North Carolina. We with Duke, who had been on the cover of Sports Illustrated the week before with their All-American Art Heyman. And they were as good as advertised. They were ranked 5th in the nation. And we'd never seen them play before. And they really handed us our lunch, I'll have to say. But they were zone pressing us in the early part of the game, if you understand that terminology. And we were panicked. And I remember I got the ball in the corner, and I remember 3 or 4 blue shirts running at me full speed. So I threw up a jump shot. It wasn't out of skill, it was desperation, but it switched. There's 14,000 people, and I thought, wow, this is great. And the next time down the floor, the same thing happened, and out of desperation, I jumped and shot a shot from the corner, and it swished. And I was sharing that story with Fred, and we were laughing about it, and he looks at me and he says, yeah, but what you don't remember about that story Al, I was wide open under the basket and you didn't give me the ball. And we laughed a good deal about that. Then I said to him, well, Fred, I had a choice to make, and either I could shoot it or give it to you. And I took, anyway, I said I made the shot. But he was a great friend and a great teammate, and I'm so honored to be here, to be with all of you and to be with Kurt. And we had wonderful experiences and bonded as teammates, and you know, there's nothing that could replace the experiences that we had together. So God bless you, Fred. We love you.
Offer the mic back to Crystal for the great job she did for us here today. She's a great organizer and assistant lawyer.
Can I tell the flying story?
Oh, you betcha, Wanda.
Yeah.
Come on, Wanda.
Get up here.
Yeah, come on, yeah.
I have a pretty decent teacher voice. Do I need the mic?
Yes.
I still need it? Okay, all right, that's fine.
I still can't hear you. My audience,
Okay, all right.
okay?
It's weird how this feels like the sound's getting swallowed up a little bit. I'm Ron's youngest daughter. My sister Jody, we're here together. And we came into the family when we were about 5. We were instantly Gishes. Moved to Cheyenne because that's where Fred and Dad were doing the Concrete West job. So we arrived and we've got all these new cousins and we've got a new Grandma Dot and we've got a new Grandpa Gish and they just took us we were just part of the family instantly. It was never stepchildren, it was never any of that. We were always just part of the family. So over the years, always had experience. Oh, what I wanted to say, I thought Fred was the biggest person I've ever seen in my life. He was so tall. Anyway, especially for a little girl, I guess he was huge. But over the years, we had a lot of really fun family experiences and everything. There were a couple of times that I got to do a couple of things by myself. When I was in high school, I had a boyfriend break up with me, and I was super sad and all of that. And I don't even remember how it came to be. But Mary and Fred had me down to Florida, and I spent some time down there with them. I spent time with them in Aspen, really enjoying just kind of one-on-one time, just me and them, and it was so much fun. But we've had one experience after Aunt Mary passed away. Uncle Fred was coming to Georgia pretty frequently, thank goodness. I loved it. It was so much fun. He got to meet my husband and everything. I worked for a theme park there called Wild Adventures in Valdosta, Georgia. And at that point I had left work. But anytime you come to Georgia, if you come now, if the park's open, we're going to the park, because that's what we do. And so Fred comes, and that's what we do. I take him to the theme park. So this is my sister, sister-in-law, Carla, Jody, me, Uncle Fred. And he rides rides. I don't ride rides, but he conned Carla into going on a couple of rides with him. And one of the rides is called a sky coaster. I can't for my life remember what the name of the ride is. But if anybody knows what a sky coaster is they harness you into this thing. It's got a big pole here and a big pole here, and it wrenches you up on this line, and then you have to let it go. So he's like, well, come on, Vonda, don't you want to do this with me? And I'm like, absolutely not, but I will film it. And he did it. And he was 80-something years old at that time. And we ran into the general manager on the way out, red light. But I was like, hi, hey, John, how's it going? This is my Uncle Fred. I don't know if there's a record on how old somebody's been riding the sky coaster, but I think he was the oldest person who had ever done it. And that's him flying. So I took a screenshot when he hit the pinnacle. And it's above the trees, and he's got his hands out. And to me, that is Uncle Fred. He was fearless. He made a shirt.
Now, 3:28. Meant a lot to me. Last day, I spent the whole day with him. Showed no signs of anything other than march on, happy. He was content that whole day. He ate good. He was happy. We had a great day together. My father wanted to be where he is now. Period. He is with my mother. And if you study and look at his last 4 years of his life without my mother, he meandered. He was heartbroken. Yet he never lost his humor, his kindness, his spirit. But I'm here to tell you, he is where he wants to be. Heaven is in equilibrium now. They are together, my mom and dad. And thank you for coming, honest. And don't rush off. Do not rush off. Crystal, again, bless you.
So we have a few things set up, mostly Uncle Ron. Lori set some beautiful things up over here. If you want to come take a look at photos and a few things to sign. We have some cards in the back if you can write something meaningful to you on one of those and sign the tree. We also have some flower seeds to take with you, some forget-me-nots. There's a couple of songs I'm going to play while everyone hangs out and browses around that were really important songs to Grandpa that, you know, he really wanted us to just listen to and reflect to. So we'll play some songs, and if anyone else wants to say anything, say as long as you want or as short as you want. But thank you all for being here. It just shows how much love, how many people touch Grandpa in this world. I don't think we'll ever even be able to count or understand.
Go. There's somebody else.
I'm probably the most fortunate one of all. My father passed away when I was very young. And
Mike's not on.
Fred filled a void in my life that for years and years and years. He took me in, loved me, spanked me, took me places, made me laugh, so many laughs. I remember he had a old orange Travelall, and if you turn the key off and you turn the key back on, it would backfire. So it was during Frontier days, and we were down on Lincoln Way, people walking on the street, and Fred turns the key off, turns the key back on, and it sounds like a gunshot. Of course, everybody's just freaking out because they don't know, and we're all just little kids just laughing. Pull up next to a police officer, he had this little saying, he'd say, "What's the penny made of?" And we would all say, "Dirty copper." And just laugh. But just things like that. In front of the police. Yeah, and it was the police officers were right there. But yeah, I had so many great memories of him, and he truly was a unique man, kind and funny. And I remember as little kids, we'd be in the store. Of course, Mary was short, couldn't see her, but Fred was so tall, you got lost, you just looked over the thing. There's Fred, then we knew where he was. Yeah, I tried to think of so many things that touched all our lives. So I just wanted to say that truly I am the most fortunate of everyone here.
Crystal said that there's 5 children, but there was 6. There was 6. Uncle Alan is a brother. 11 months younger than I.
Oh, there was another thing. One time, my mom used to go golfing. So they lived just up the street from where I grew up. And my mom dropped me off, and of course it was the 4 of them and me. And Mary went in to take a shower. Somebody came to the front door. Of course, I answered the door, and they say, "Where's your mom?" And oh, she's golfing. And they look in there, and there's like 5 kids running around the house. And, yeah, the mom's golfing, you know. Mary comes out, is like, "Who was at the door?" "Oh, I told him
Social services came knocking.
Yeah, that was a little before that time, but yeah.
Again, bless this day, the weather. Let's pray for the country. We need not pray for my father. He's where he wants to be. We need to pray for our country right now. And they're looking down from heaven, and they know that we're all going to be fine. And they love you all. And it's a good day in heaven. It really is. Bless you for all coming. And God's will. Thank you.